fight. We don't have to kill. Everybody in the whole wide world really just needs to chill. No, we don't have to fuss, no.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Just Chill with Oliver George. This is episode 112, and I'm very lucky to have someone in the studio with me that is a multifaceted performer, not only a hilarious comedian, but a highly skilled dancer and just all-around engaging entertainer. But before we get into it, I want to remind you, if you're watching this on YouTube and you prefer audio only for whatever reason, you can get that on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and other places like that. If you're listening to my voice on one of those platforms, though, and you didn't realize there was a visual side to the show, please come over here and check it out. Even if you don't intend on watching the show and you want to keep listening, just hit the subscribe button. It really does help. We don't have a Patreon or anything like that, so it's the truest way to support the show other than, coming up and saying good job if you see me somewhere. Also, if you want to reach out to me, maybe you've got a cool guest idea or some general feedback about the program, you can hit me up on social media or send me an email at justchillpodcasting@gmail.com. Not many people do, but I read them all, so send them in. Back to the guest of the hour here. I am really, really excited to have you in studio. She is an established comedian. She's performed at the Winnipeg Comedy Festival. She's opened for the likes of Joe List, Shane Gillis, Colin Mockery. And recently she's won the Boston Comedy Festival, which is absolutely awesome. She also hosts her own show on YouTube called Anjelica's Daily Surprise, which is just so cool and full of so many different things. It's honestly hard to summarize here in an intro, but I'm talking about Anjelica Scannura. Thank you so much for coming.
Hey, thank you for having me.
And I said your name right?
Yeah.
Okay, I was very nervous that it was going to be like Anjelica Scannura or something like that.
No, I just say it that way for auditions, so I seem a little bit more
ethnic.
Yes.
Okay.
They're like, yeah, you're white.
Yeah, I've been learning Spanish on an app for about 6 months now, so when I read your name, I heard it in kind of that voice.
Yes, perfect.
I'm glad I didn't mess it up. Okay.
You using Duolingo?
Yes. Well, they make it like a game. It's awesome.
They do. I know. It's great, except the lessons are a little bit impractical, I find. I don't know if they've improved it, but like I remember learning how to say El caballo comen arroz for like an hour.
Something eats rice.
The horse eats rice. And it's
okay.
like, when am I ever going to need this?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's just sort of a groundwork maybe because the lessons keep going. I can only imagine if I've been doing this for 3 years what they'll be presenting to me. But I don't really care. It's so fun that I really don't care. Like I'm having a blast doing it, and I definitely can say that like compared to 6 months ago, I know a lot more Spanish.
That's perfect. And you can do it with your kids, right? Like it's good for kids too.
Yeah, my son, he's enjoyed it with me a couple times, but it, for some reason doesn't work on his iPad because he's got an old iPad. So we'll see. I want to though, because at that age is the age to be learning languages.
Yes.
I think around his age is when it sort of drops off and becomes a lot harder.
Yeah.
And we did sign language a couple of years ago too. Before he started school, we just did it for fun for about a year, and that was a blast too.
Nice.
But that's hard to stay consistent with if you're not friends with any deaf people.
Yeah.
You don't have a lot of like opportunities to practice,
No, I know. When I was trying to learn Spanish, they're like, just get a Spanish boyfriend. And I'm like, I don't really want to deal with that.
Yeah. What else
That opens a whole other can of worms for me personally.
Before we get started though, I wanted to make sure to plug your shows that are coming up. I'm not sure exactly when this episode will go up. I'm thinking probably late October.
Late October.
So let's start from, I guess, Zany's in Chicago.
Yeah.
The 24th to the 26th. I'll try to get it up before then. You're at Yuck Yuck's Guelph on November 5th. Yuck Yuck's Ancaster. Where's that? Ancaster.
So Yuck Yucks does a series of shows on the road.
Oh, okay.
And they're like comedy nights. So they're not in clubs. They're in like just restaurants and venues. And they have their monthly comedy nights. And Ancaster is actually just outside of Hamilton.
Okay. So still Ontario.
Yes.
Cleveland.
Yeah.
Cleveland Comedy Festival, November 8th and 9th.
Yep.
Minneapolis, November 15th to 18th. And Winnipeg, December 5th and 6th. That's all I've got here.
That's it.
Also, check out the YouTube page, Anjelica's Daily Surprise.
Yes.
I want to make sure everybody goes and checks that out.
Yeah, Anjelica's Daily Surprise is an interesting one.
We'll talk about that in a bit for sure. I've got notes on that. But and your socials and all that will come up at the beginning. So definitely everybody go check those out. But I gotta go and start things off with what we were talking about in the car because some congratulations are in order here, right?
Yes.
Not only did you get engaged to your longtime partner, Cam Phoenix, also a comedian, I understand. Okay.
Yes.
But you're also expecting now.
Yeah.
Which is kind of fun to be able to announce that on here because you haven't really made a widespread
No,
announcement
I
yet.
haven't made a post yet. I'm waiting till I find out the gender on Monday. So by the time this comes out, I'll know what I'm having.
Do you have are you hoping for one or the other? Or?
Yeah, but I don't want
to.
As long as it's healthy. I don't want it to listen to this podcast later in life and go, "What? You didn't want me?" If it ends up being the thing that, the thing.
The thing. Well, maybe you'll have more than one kid. Who knows? Or is this a one-shot deal, you think?
Oh my gosh, everyone's like, so when's the next one coming? And I'm like, can you just
Chill out.
let me go through this process first? Because I am going to have to birth it, and I don't know what that's going to be like, and I don't know if I'm going to want to do that again.
One step at a time, for sure.
Yeah.
And well, you're 4 months, you said, right?
I'm like 5 months.
Okay, so you're far past like the common miscarriage window.
Yes,
'Cause
yeah.
That's not, we had one, we went through it. It's rough.
Yeah, that seems like it would be really heartbreaking because you get really attached to it. And I'm just like really trying to be on my best behavior. And
I will touch on that a bit because we did, before my youngest was born, my wife got pregnant and it was really messed up because I hope she wouldn't mind me talking about this, but we had to go and get the ultrasound. And I don't remember how long she was, at least a couple months.
Yeah.
And they saw the fetus, but they said, well, I'm having trouble finding the heartbeat.
Oh my God.
And then we're obviously devastated, freaked out. But then the technician says, well, don't like panic yet because like sometimes this can happen and we'll get you guys back in here in a week to see if we can find it next time. So we spent a whole week just being like, wondering like and hoping. And then sure enough, we go back next time, nothing there. So then you're like, oh, cool. So you've had this deceased child in you for the last week. And then you gotta get a
doesn't that have
surgery
any
and-
like side effects? Like, don't you feel something? Like,
you'd have to talk to her. I don't remember her being in a major distress or anything, but she did have to have the procedure where they do a DNC.
Oh, that's just awful.
It's heartbreaking stuff.
It is.
Thankfully, she got pregnant again not long after that, and we were kind of able to, and now he's happy, healthy, smart kid. So
yeah, that's always scary. Going for the ultrasound and being like, what's gonna happen? And then I've had this Russian lady twice for my ultrasounds, and she's like, look at the baby heartbeat. Ding, 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 ding. You see right there, baby heartbeat. And it's like, she's so funny.
I like to honestly talk about miscarriage, though, because it is a hard thing to go through. And I think that people feel really like alienated and like a freak. And it's so common.
It's
like
so
one
common.
in 4 pregnancies, I think, miscarries, or maybe 1 in 5. So you're not alone if you're going through that shit.
Yeah, my best friend had one, and like when I got pregnant, she's like, these are things like I don't want to be depressing or anything, but these are things you need to know. And I'm like, oh, it's in the back of my mind. Believe
just to
me.
Be prepared.
Yeah. So was really just trying to pare down what I was doing physically for a bit, and try to keep my stress levels low.
Create an ideal sort of habitat.
Yeah, even though it's like stand-up is such a strain on your nervous system.
Well, last night when we saw you last night at Yuck Yucks, and when you did that Irish jig joke, I was like, she's not actually going to do it, is she?
When people are like, because I set people up to ask me to do it.
Yeah.
I want to be asked to do it because then I can justify my response rather than have to like walk people down the road of me doing it. And I was worried because since I got pregnant, I'm like, people aren't going to ask me to do it anymore. But it hasn't stopped. People are like, do it then. And I'm like, what?
So prior to being pregnant, did you actually do the jig?
No.
Okay, I was going to say that was
The
the whole
joke has
joke.
always been me
Okay,
just
awesome.
standing still with my arms by my side. And
Yeah, it made me realize that they really don't do a lot with their upper body.
No.
Sorry to spoiler your joke for anyone who might.
It's okay. I've been doing it for years and everybody knows it by now.
Okay. And I understand that the engagement is a bit of maybe a shotgun engagement.
No, it's like I just enhance that for the joke.
Oh, okay,
Like
okay.
we were always going to get engaged in this was all planned. Everything
nice.
was planned. Even though it looks like it's really backwards.
Well, and you never know when someone's telling jokes on stage how much of it is fact and fiction.
I make myself seem like more of a loser than I am.
I don't think you're a loser. So you have names in mind, you guys?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Would you share them here or no?
Yeah, sure.
I'm just curious. I love.
So his last name is Phoenix,
That's
which
cool.
is a crazy last name, right?
It's not like his stage name or anything. That's his.
No, it's a real name.
Cool.
He actually has a joke where he goes, Yes, it's a real name. It's not a stage name. I'm actually thinking of getting a stage name that's a bit more my vibe. Like, hey, everyone, it's Gary Perkins. Because he's very, like, deadpan and, you know, he's very joke writery. Like, Cameron Phoenix sounds like an action hero, right?
It so does. Yeah, or stuntman or something.
Yeah. So we're trying to work on that joke more together where it's like, yeah, like he's like a stunt dude or whatever. But so when you have that last name, you have to kind of be careful about what you pick for the first name. And like, we love baseball. We're huge baseball fans. And we're like, what would be a good baseball name? And we're like, well, our first date was to this place called Rudy Burger. And then we went there throughout the whole pandemic. We'd always go to Rudy Burger. And I don't know if you have that in Ottawa.
No, I don't think so. I've never heard
There's
of
like
it.
a few locations in Toronto, but we settled on Rudy.
It's a cool name.
I like it.
It's unique. Yeah, you don't hear that a lot.
Rudy Phoenix. And it's cute and it's kind of silly.
It
and
still sounds pretty punchy in a good way, though.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's the thing. And it's like I've gone through my whole life with people calling me like Anjelica Scannura Dinka and like all kinds of crazy things. And I'm like, I don't want my kid to go through that. I want like Rudy Phoenix, something very simple.
Yeah,
done.
easy to remember.
Yeah, and then if it's a girl, it's going to be Scarlet. So Scarlet Phoenix, which is kind of I think it's a Marvel character, the Scarlet Witch.
Scarlet Witch and Phoenix is a separate character, yeah.
Yeah, which I'm like, that's cool.
That's kind of rad, yeah.
Yeah, I want kind of like a badass bitch, you know?
Scarlet Phoenix sounds like a wrestler or something.
Yeah. It's the Scarlet Phoenix.
Yeah, she has to put the at the beginning.
Yeah.
That's
Her
awesome.
name's actually the.
You talk about people messing up your name. I read online that you used to go by Angie Rose.
Oh my God. How much of a deep dive did you do? That's
You're
crazy.
honestly my favorite type of guest because you have so much content to sift through for like possible talking points and stuff. But
Yeah, well, it was because I used to be, I'm like a recently retired professional belly dancer.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to make all my money off of belly dancing and through dance. And I used to be on the board of the Ontario Arts Council and the Canada Arts Council. So I'd look at grants and I'd approve grants. And it was a very serious job. And then I was like, well, I want to do comedy, but I couldn't like have anybody find out what I was doing, or I'd get in a lot of trouble because a lot of my first jokes were about how I hate belly dancing for people. And I'm like, this is my livelihood. And I was like, and I don't like contemporary dancers and I don't like this. And it was like, I was basically like complaining about the people that pay me.
yeah.
And I wasn't even sure if I was going to even stick to comedy. So Rose is my middle name and people always call me Ange. So I was Angie Rose. And
So Oliver George, same deal. My last name is Riley. But
Okay.
People always, how do you spell it? Reilly, but people spell it wrong every time. And
yeah.
French people say it as really.
Oh,
Oliver, really? I'm like, yes, really, it's Riley. It's too confusing.
that's their problem. Riley seems like a pretty.
Yeah, I get. Well, there's John C. Riley. That's the one everyone knows.
Yeah.
But I don't know. The same thing. Punchiness. It was just Oliver George sounded more.
Yeah.
The two first names thing. I don't know. Easy
Yeah.
to remember or whatever.
Yeah. But it was with the Angie Rose stuff. It was like I just didn't want people to find out, like search me up and find that out about me.
So you switched to your regular name when you started doing comedy?
When I finally was like, you either got to go full in with this or don't do it at all,
Yeah.
and get ready to sacrifice the dancing for all this. That's when I started being more Anjelica Scannura.
Okay. And this would have been around 2017 if I did my research correctly?
Yes, exactly. 2017.
Well, that means, you've been doing it, 7 years now? Almost 8 years?
Yeah.
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 I mean, you look like you seem like you've been doing it for much longer than that.
My first time on stage was 10 years ago.
Okay.
And it was, I took a class at Second City because I had no idea how to get into it. Like, I'm so blown away by new comics. And they're like, I just looked up open mics and I went to an open mic at a bar. And I'm like, that's how you got into this? It's like, I had no idea. And I'm like, I'm going to go to Second City, take a course. At the end of the course, you get to perform at Absolute Comedy. And I'm like, I'll be a star after that, immediately after. This is going to be so easy for me. I'll do it once a week. I'll
You had a
tour.
game plan.
Yeah. And I was like, this is going to be easy for me. I'm already a performer. And I did the class. I did the Absolute Comedy big ending class show. And it was a lot of fun because you have a bunch of people there to support you and the other people in the class. And then I did like 3 open mics and it was so awful. And then And then I saw that everybody that was at the open mic was going to another open mic that night and getting home at 1 a.m. And then they were doing it again tomorrow and the next night and the next night. And I'm like, oh, this is not a hobby. This is not a dabbling thing.
Lifestyle for sure. Yeah.
And I had nothing. I was like, I have nothing really to say. So I like stopped, and I would do it probably like once every 3 months, and it would just be horrible, obviously. And then 2017 came around, and I was like looking to make big changes to my life, and I was like, that's it. We're going for this. So,
well, I imagine belly dancing is something that has like a limited window in your life that you can be like, are there like professional like 50-year-old belly dancers? Or
There's one woman in Egypt. It's so funny because you'd think you age out of belly dancing, but there are so many like belly dancers in their 40s and 50s in Egypt still working, still making a ton of money.
Wow. But
they're like freaks of nature, and they're very well respected. So they really established themselves, and it's so weird because I've thought about that. I'm like, it seems like it would be like a very ageist thing.
Yeah.
But it's not. There's a respect for like the older woman, but I don't even know how they do it. They have like facelifts and like amazing breast implants. And there's this one Dina who's like, she's like a soap opera actress and a belly dancer, and she must be 60.
Wow.
And she's incredible. She looks incredible, and she's still doing it. And it's funny because she used to get in trouble a lot when she was in her prime because she'd wear these like really risque outfits. Like she almost got like arrested for wearing a belly dance costume that looked like she had like a thong sticking out.
Oh.
Now you should see what they're wearing. They're like practically naked on stage. But it's an influence of like the foreign dancers coming to Egypt and kind of changing the game a lot. And when I was kind of at my peak with belly dancing, it was like post-revolution, and everybody was kind of like, there was modesty involved, and now it's kind of like a wild and crazy time, and anything goes, and people are wearing garters, and you can kind of be like a borderline acrobat, and people will be like, yeah, that's exciting.
People are looking for a new flair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like, to be honest, I didn't even know that was something you could make a living off of. Like,
oh my God, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I lived in Egypt briefly.
Okay.
I hated it, and I'd get in trouble a lot, and I couldn't speak the language, and I missed my family, and I was like not healthy, and I'd get chased home by dogs every night. And
none of this sounds great.
It was very isolating because it was like, I was like 25, and I was like, oh, I want to be in a relationship. And that was impossible because if you're a belly dancer in Egypt, there's no relationships to be had. You're like a prostitute almost. You're the physical embodiment of like a party. But nobody is going to engage in a relationship with you because it's like haram.
Oh. Everyone wants to come watch you, but no one wants to like put a ring on that.
Yeah. You're not like respected.
Is there a big scene over here for that stuff? There must be.
So that was the thing is in Canada, there's a huge scene because there's a huge Middle Eastern community. There's Lebanese, Egyptian, Iraqi, and they're like all in the GTA area, and they have like massive weddings, all kinds of events. So I would be making about like $1,000 to $1,200 a week.
Oh, that's pretty solid.
Yeah. And, it was great. And that was how I made my living. So I was really afraid to drop all that to become a penniless stand-up comedian. Also, belly dancing mostly occurs on Fridays and Saturdays. And when does stand-up comedy happen? Fridays and Saturdays.
Yeah.
So I was like, I started getting booked on Fridays and Saturdays with stand-up, and then I'd also have to belly dance. So I'd do a stand-up show at like 9, and then I'd like go into an Uber and I'd like put on my smoky eye, and then I'd be at a belly dance show for like 11, and I'd be dancing.
That's nuts.
Yeah, it's
I
crazy.
can see why you wouldn't want to do that for an extended period of time.
It was very brief. 2019 was when that all started, and then the pandemic happened. And then everything just shut down.
Yeah.
And then I just never went back to belly dancing after that.
Well, I mean, I think you're selling yourself short too, because from what I've seen, you're not just a belly dancer. You have been doing ballet since you were a little kid. I'll put that picture up with your.
Oh yeah,
saw
and
a
I won.
cute little picture of you as like a 5-year-old or something.
Oh God, yeah, I won Bellydancer of the Universe. So I'm like a
Universe. Wow.
Yeah, so that's like one of the major competitions of belly dancing in the world. So I won in 2013 and 2023.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and then they were like, "Okay, we want you to be a judge." It's a competition that happens in LA. So now I'm like on their judging panel. So they're like, "You're retired from competing," and I'm like, "Yeah, gladly. I don't want to compete anymore."
Man, I hope if aliens ever come and make contact, that they're like, "We'd like to have a word," because the rest of the universe has got some fierce competitors.
Yeah.
That's just an interesting choice of words. I feel like to call it.
Oh yeah.
Universe,
well, people in LA are like, we're
make
the
it
center of the
big.
world,
Yeah.
and in a way, they are. Yeah. So.
Well, you also did a bunch of flamenco dancing, right? Because if I understand correctly,
Yeah.
your dad is like a world-renowned flamenco guitarist.
Yes, he is.
So you had that influence from a young age as well. Then.
Yes, and like my mom's a flamenco dancer, and we have a flamenco dance school, and I teach flamenco every week still.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I teach at the National Ballet of Canada, and I teach at Canadian Contemporary Dance Theatre. And I like it because I'm working with like professional children. And they're like, when kids are so, I love teaching kids because they're just like excited.
Yeah.
But kids that know they want to dance for a living are like really driven and they don't mess around. So it's a really good combination. I was teaching mostly adult women for like since I was 18 years old. Like I was teaching women in their 40s, 50s, 60s. And it was a bit of a challenge. And of course, you're not working with women who necessarily are going to be professionals someday, although some of them certainly hope that they will be in a week. And they go, I'm looking to become a gypsy and you're going to make it happen for me. And I'm like, actually, I'm not. Like, this kind of seems like a crisis. But
And also gypsy's a term I feel like that's kind of nowadays.
yeah, I mean, I still say it because it's like,
You could probably get away with it and be like, belly dancer of the universe, shut the fuck up. Like, I'm going to
Well,
say gypsy if I want to.
yeah, well, the gypsies in Spain, it's like they invented flamenco.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's their own culture, their own rhythms, and they didn't want your average person to just come in and pick it up.
Yeah.
It's like it's very much their thing. So
Wow. Well, it'd be like.
and
their
they do
cultural-
scam people. I've been
Yeah.
scammed by so many flamenco gypsies in my life.
Well, that's the stereotype is that they're like thieves or something, right?
Yeah, and it's like there's this one teacher in Spain I'll never forget. I like had my money out to pay. I had like 80 euros and I was intending to pay for the week, right? Because that's usually how much it would cost to pay for a week of classes in Spain. And I was like, I want to pay for just this one class because she was a lunatic. Like she was huge back in her day. And then the one class I took, she was cutting her hair during the class. Like she was teaching us a step and then she like went to the mirror and started cutting her hair.
Wow.
And then like there was one moment where she came up to me and I couldn't tell if she was like laughing at me or like with me. And I was like, I'm just going to take this one class. So I had my money out and I'm like, just the one class. And she like took 80 euros from me and she's like, bye.
Oh,
So it's like little things like that.
that lady sounds a little unhinged for sure.
Yeah, but they all are. All the greats are
and
unhinged.
Dance-wise, I'm almost forgetting, you're also very talented at pole dancing. Although I will say for the viewers, if you check out Angelica's channel, if you have a heart condition or something along those lines, you might want to stay away because it's pretty hot, spicy stuff.
My pole dancing hobby, it started in the pandemic.
So this
And,
was just
like,
a hobby, right? It wasn't coming from a line of
No,
work. or anything.
it was weird. Like I won a competition during the pandemic, and it was like pole sport organization, like slightly past amateur level, and it was like I was pole dancing like 2 hours a day during the pandemic. Like I got a pole, we installed it. I was like, it was my livelihood. I
Seems
changed.
like amazing for your fitness.
Oh my God, I changed my body and I've like lost it all now. But it was like, it also messed me up. Like it's a very hard thing to do and it like loosens your skin and you get bruises. And that's where my like pole dance joke came from.
Yeah. We heard that last night. Yeah.
Yeah, where it's like I have bruises all over my body. My inner thighs look like a water damaged ceiling. Like
Yeah.
that was very much true. And but it was like just a fun pandemic activity when I couldn't really do anything else.
When you had some Russian lady with you in some of those videos,
Irina,
she seems really like professional about it. Super. She seems like fun too, though.
Irina is the best pole dancer, like one of the best, and she's a grandma.
No way.
Yeah,
she looks great for a grandma.
I know, and she was always like very, very fun when she'd teach classes, and she didn't take herself too seriously. She also wasn't like a snob. Like some pole dance teachers, I'm like, do you have any like social skills? Like you can tell who was like used to be a stripper basically and who's now a pole dance teacher because they're just like, they're over it and they're so good at it.
Well,
and
they probably have shitty memories from
for
certain times.
Sure, for sure. And but yeah, Irina's got a lot of personality, and she used to date a comedian.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she did.
So you guys probably hit it off right away then?
Well, she used to be at shows all the time.
Oh, okay.
And so I would get to see her in classes and at shows. And I was really sad when they broke up.
Damn.
Yeah, I was like, what did you do to her? I'm so mad at her.
Almost seems like a time to pivot to your YouTube show. But I wanted to, before I forget with the pregnancy stuff, I did have a couple of questions about that. That I didn't want to forget about because you mentioned that you were like obviously quitting alcohol and weed temporarily. Good mom. But I wanted to know, has that been a really like rough transition or has it been like strangely like surprisingly refreshing?
Oh my gosh. So
I was just like counting down the days.
So I'm okay. It's a little bit of everything.
Okay.
Like I used to smoke weed every day to the point where I was like, who am I? I don't even know who I am anymore when I'm just sober. And I would always have a drink with me on stage. I wasn't like a have 6 beers in a night kind of girl. I was definitely have a wine at every show. Have a wine with every set.
Loosen up a bit, yeah.
And that was also troubling to me to the point where before I got pregnant, I was like making plans to get pregnant. And I'm like, I got to start seeing how it feels to do sets sober and spend days sober. Because I could not tell you, I like probably haven't been completely sober for like a week ever since I started comedy.
I can strongly relate.
And I'm like, that's a big problem.
Yeah,
that was a
adjustment.
huge problem. And I was having a hard time staying on top of like my fitness and being like, what's the point of working out? I'm just going to have a beer tonight, and setting myself back and
That's
back.
hilarious because I work out so I can have a beer tonight. I'm like, it's a balancing act. And pizza, of course.
Of course. So definitely when it all went down and I found out, I was like, here we go. And I was shocked at how I was able to just do it and find the same magic that I did when I was drinking.
You find like your memory's better now. And
my memory's better.
creativity,
I
stuff
don't
like
need to take as many like drinks on stage because I'm more hydrated. I feel more rested. The only thing I do miss is the smoking weed to write because sometimes I'd smoke weed and then I'd get these like ideas, which, the next day you look back at them and you're like, this isn't as great as I thought it would be. But
I've had this on shrooms.
yeah. I don't even mess around with shrooms.
Oh, on shrooms, you think you've solved like the mysteries of the universe, and then you look at the piece of paper the next day, you're like, what the fuck is this gibberish?
Yeah. Oh, well, it's fun in the moment,
For sure, yeah.
to think that you've solved comedy.
Oh, yeah.
But it's it was not as hard as I thought it would be.
That's great to hear. I partially brought this up because my wife Kelly and we've kind of made a pact that my birthday's December 6th and I'm going to be 39. So I'm like, I wanted to make my last year headed towards 40. We're going to go off booze for a year.
Okay.
Just like as like a fun experiment, willpower challenge. We're still going to smoke weed probably, but so I kind of wanted to say it on the podcast a little bit to make myself accountable.
You have to.
You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly.
Have to. Yeah, no. And Cameron is like, I'm going to become sober in solidarity.
Nice. That's one of my follow-up questions because I hate seeing like a 8 months pregnant and the dude's just chugging a beer or whatever. It seems kind of messy.
He's like, is it okay if I drink tonight? And he's come home and he's been like, I had a puff of weed. And I'm like, please don't come home like thinking you're going to be in trouble.
You're out of here, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, I didn't ask you to do this. Like, live your life. And it's like he never drank much anyways. And he would always encourage me to drink less. And we're very much a good influence on each other. And
you're not finding blow in his pocket or something.
No, he's not like a piece of trash.
Yeah.
Now he's like, he smokes weed on Sundays. And
it's still more reserved then.
Yeah,
that's
we're
nice.
saving a ton of money too, not smoking, and
yeah,
it's just good overall. And I'm hoping that it kind of carries through. It's gonna have to because it's like, what am I gonna do? Get trashed with a baby?
Exactly. Yeah.
I feel like the first time I smoke weed after having the kid, I'm gonna like get high and then look at it and be like, what have I done?
Well, you're just maybe not feel guilty, but you might just trip out about like, I made this thing.
Yeah, that's definitely what's
I
gonna happen.
still have moments like that, even with teenage children, where you're like, wow, these are like my offspring.
Yeah, it is weird.
It's a bit of a trip for sure.
Yeah.
What was my other thing I had? Oh yeah. Well, I want to know two things. One, how long into your pregnancy do you think you'll keep performing? And two, have you started to have any weird cravings or dreams? Because I've sired children with 2 women now, and I definitely remember a lot of weird cravings and dreams. So I don't know if you're at that stage.
Yes, I'm going to perform as long as I can.
Water breaks on the stage.
That's what I'm afraid of. Cameron's recording an album like the last week of January into February 1st, and that'll be 1 month before I'm set to give birth, and I'm supposed to host his album recording. So we'll see.
Yeah, see if that happens, or maybe he needs to fill in last minute.
Yeah. So I'm going to perform for as long as I can. I have the last book show I have right now is on New Year's Eve in Ottawa, actually.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
I'll try to make it out to that.
Yeah, it's with Frank Spadone.
Is that Yucks?
No, I don't think so.
Maybe
I think it's at a
Lounge?
I think it's at a theater.
Oh, maybe at Center Point? We've got one down the street here that lots of people come
I
to.
don't know the details yet, but it's Frank
Okay.
Spadone's like New Year's Eve extravaganza spectacular. I don't know. But that's New Year's Eve here in Ottawa. So that's exciting. And
And at that point, you'll be, what, like 6 or
7.
7 months? Yeah, that's getting up there.
that's getting up there.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to be a disaster at this point at 5 months. And like I'll tell people and they're like, you're pregnant? They're like, I can't even tell.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't show yet. And
Yeah, I'm wearing like baggy clothes, but it shows like when
you get,
I'm
like morning sickness and all that?
No.
None?
None. I haven't thrown up once.
Because on stage, I remember you saying, but again, I have to take it with a grain of salt, but you were saying that you can't stand the smell of weed now.
I can't
you
stand the
eat
smell of
meat
weed.
either?
No.
Oh, interesting.
Meat's really hard. Like I got a sausage breakfast sandwich this morning and I had to like plug my nose to eat it. Like I'm forcing myself to eat
For
meat.
the protein and stuff.
Yeah, because it's like I've been eating a lot of peanut butter and lentils and whatnot. And I'm like, this is weird. I need to eat meat. And
probably good for the baby, yeah.
yeah, it's just so strange.
I can only imagine, yeah. Like it would be interesting to see the baby like of a vegan versus the baby of like some
Carnivore?
steak eating. Yeah, it would just be interesting to know, like follow them as they grow up and see if there's any like genetic.
Well, we're like pretending to be the baby and like we'll talk like we're the baby and we'll be like, Mother, is this ethical? Was this ethically sourced? And I'm like, shut up, eat it.
That was one of my dad's. I always watch when we go to comedy shows together what's making him laugh. And one of the big laughs was when you did the baby voice, like, am I going to be a bastard?
Am I going to be a bastard? Well, I'm glad
God.
you like that.
And along with the, I'll jump to this now. It's in my random question section, but the joke that you did about walking in on your parents having sex and the Vaseline, I don't want to ruin it, but my dad was busting a gut over that one.
Oh,
And
that's good.
I do have a question related to that. Was that real? Did you actually walk in?
No.
Oh, well, now
That
now I
was-
can't tell my story.
So this was just like I talk to my parents a lot, like when I'm like, oh, I'm writing this joke and my mom's like, oh, you should say you like walked in on us. And I'm like, why would you ever suggest such a thing?
Yeah.
You know? And
she's got a good sense of humor, it sounds
yeah, but it's always weird suggestions. Sometimes I'm like, oh, like the one about they say only whores and hockey players come from Sudbury. And
Yeah.
I'm like, let's say my mom's good in fish nets.
Yeah.
You know, that's like a stupid
great
thing
joke.
that my mom and I kind of like riffed out. And
Well, I figured the part about her hacking a dart while she was banging your dad was probably not real, but I thought maybe it was stemming from a true event or something.
it was one of those jokes where I'm like, I just wrote it and it was clever. And I'm like, is this kind of womp clever? But I do it and it just kills every time.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll just do it. I'll just keep doing it.
I was going to commiserate because I don't have a story about walking in on them. I don't have that, thankfully.
Okay, good.
But I do have what I consider to be somewhat of a traumatic experience when I was, I don't know how old, but old enough that I want to say I was in like grade 7 or something like that. But I had a friend over for a sleepover and we were doing bunk beds and we heard, or let's say I heard the moans and the groans. So my friend's like tired. He's like, I want to go to sleep. And I had to just keep, no, let's keep talking.
Oh my God.
I think I might have told you this before. Oh God. Yeah, that was ingrained in my memory.
At least that's a good sign.
Your parents are happy. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like at this age, I look back and go, oh yeah, my parents they had a good life. Good.
Yeah, that's good.
They were into each other. I'm happy.
But good.
We're still having a good life.
Okay.
All right. Ended there.
Yeah,
No.
I won't come over on those nights. So yeah, I'll go back though to have you had weird cravings or dreams? I'm just curious about this. I find pregnancy
had a lot of weird dreams.
Oh,
just like very
weird.
vivid dreams that I remember like throughout the day.
You know what that is from?
The hormones.
Well, I was gonna say beyond pregnancy hormones. Anytime you stop smoking weed, if you were like a pothead, you have the most vivid dreams.
Oh my God. Can I tell you? I was starting to take days off of smoking and I would have the most horrific nightmares.
They're so real.
Yeah. And I'm like, I got to keep smoking weed. I got to stamp these out.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally.
But yeah, no.
I've had that where I go on like a vacation where you can't bring weed because it's super illegal. And I always have the most intense dreams.
Yeah.
But hey, it's maybe saying, okay, there's a part of my brain that wants to wake up. Maybe that will have uses in my waking life. You know?
Yeah. It's a good break.
Well, let's move on.
No
from the
weird
baby
cravings.
Stuff. Yeah, no.
I was like craving like suicide levels of spice at the beginning.
That's it though.
And that was it. I was like, I need everything as spicy as you can make it. And I'm like not a spice person.
My daughter is only 13 right now. But earlier this year, I noticed she was constantly eating pickles in peanut butter. And I was like, that's gotta be a pregnant lady thing.
Yeah.
Way too young for that. So thankfully it's not.
Yeah, no, I haven't done any of that. I was expecting all of this stuff. Don't get me wrong.
Well, you didn't get morning sickness. That's a plus.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I know.
Okay, well, I want to talk about your stand-up career. We know you started around 2017. You ditched Angie Rose.
Ditched her.
Winning the Boston Comedy Festival, though, I understand you were like a co-champion of this, though.
Yeah.
So you had to share the title, unfortunately, or
yeah.
It's kind of a bit of a bummer, I
I
guess.
had to share the money.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There's a prize. Oh.
Yeah. But in my initial post, I said co-champion, and now I don't.
Yeah.
None of us do. We had a talk. We're like,
maybe I didn't need to mention it.
no, we're like, whenever we talk, like we spoke about it. And he's like, I'm going to just say I won. He's like, me too. And he's Boston based.
Because I was going to say that must have been intense winning as a Canadian. There must have been some salty attitudes over that, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, I'm the first Canadian woman to win. And
I'm surprised they let Canadians even enter.
I know.
Seems kind of weird.
Trix won. Do you know who Trix is?
No.
He's Canadian. Now he like is in Vegas.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it was like a drag star or something. Trick something.
Yeah, no, I'm surprised they let me win too.
Mm-hmm.
It's
there were some Boston comics. Just like I
know.
Do a Boston accent. I was going to try.
Yeah. No, it was there were 2 Canadians in the final. Me and Hadi Kuba from Montreal. And the finals, like I'm not like, how do you say this? There were 10 people in the final. And there's a gay guy, a lesbian, Latina, this, a that, a this, a that. And I'm like, straight, white, female, Canadian. I'm like, that doesn't really get me much these days. I have to be like, I'm bisexual.
Yeah, well, I mean, Canadian at least is a bit of flair down there.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, they don't really want to give it to you. You know, it's harder. But I don't know. I had the best set.
Yeah, well, you deserve to win, clearly.
But it's like, I got pretty lucky because I know a lot of people go to the Boston Comedy Festival and there's like 3 or 4 rounds. I forget. And it's very easy to wash out. Because like the shows, there's like a show at 7 and a show at 9, show at 7, show at 9 for like 3 days. And they cut that in half every time. So if you're one of the first 2 or 3 acts on the show, you're screwed because it's the beginning of the show. and people aren't relaxed yet.
Yeah.
And
The drinks aren't flowing yet.
yeah, and the preliminaries are so hard to bust through because a lot of the local acts, which there were a ton, bring people.
Wow. I thought you were going to
Which-
say they know all the local haunts and all the lingo. And
Oh,
that's an
there was
advantage
one
for
guy that was murdering with the local references.
Yeah.
And I was like, this guy's big competition. And he didn't make it through. I heard he was stealing jokes. He was a joke thief. So they were like, he's a joke thief. We disqualified him. I'm like, well, good.
Yeah, rightfully so.
But I definitely appealed to them with my Irish stuff
Okay.
because there's a huge Irish population there,
Yeah, of
and they really
course.
liked that. And I was the only comic that like acknowledged the environment I was in. A lot of people went up and they're like, "Here's my 5."
Yeah.
And I will not acknowledge anything in this room.
They don't want to deviate from the plan.
No, but it's like sometimes you have to.
Yeah.
I found that going in and being very laminated in your act, no matter where you are, it doesn't work as well as when you go, yeah, look, the ice machine.
Yeah,
Wow.
what is
Can you
that
turn
dripping
off
noise?
the ice
Yeah.
machine, please? Like, do we need to make a margarita during every punchline? You know? And it's
It
like,
instantly makes you seem more experienced, in my opinion. That
Yeah.
like you're willing to get out of that framework and explore a little bit, you know?
yeah, you have a romantic idea of how a competition is going to go, though. And you're like, when you find yourself on stage and you're saying things that are like riffs and off the cuff, you're like, am I doing the right thing? I was
Yeah.
really hoping to do this joke, this joke, this joke today. And now I feel like I have to rush and cram it in, which is not good for the joke and it's not good for me.
It is a big swing.
It is.
It could derail things.
Yeah,
potentially,
I thought I was going to get kicked out after the prelims because I was like, yeah, let's have a competition in a place where they're actively making margaritas for people. And I was like, do I just sound like a huge dick right now? But it was like, it was
a
really
blender
good.
is a lot to compete with.
Oh, yeah. And it's like, you know, like I said, it was always a lottery when you went up in the lineup. And I was like always second last on the show, always second last. And I was like, I was very lucky in that
People who
regard.
don't do comedy don't understand like how much it sucks to get bullied on a competition, or even like 2 or 3 or
It's
whatever.
horrible.
Yeah.
It's horrible. And that had a lot to do with it. Also, I think before with the Boston Comedy Festival, they had a no repeat rule. So as you progressed, you couldn't repeat jokes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
Wow,
you had
that's
to kind of
intimidating.
prove that you had a lot of material. This time they didn't have that. But the people that made it through to the end and you did the exact same set each time, it was kind of like, do you have any more than this?
Yeah.
So I
It's a red
did
flag, yeah.
set 1, set 2, and then I took the best of set 1 and set 2 and I mashed it together.
That's a smart approach.
And that's kind of what my approach was. And I was the only person that showed up for like sound check for the finals. I really got to know the theater and I kind of got
Professionalism.
comfortable in my space. I spoke to the organizers. You know, people really underestimate the power of like just being a normal person.
Yeah.
And I used to be guilty of that. I used to just be like, it's all about what's on stage. And it's really not. It's like people want to feel comfortable around you.
Yeah. See
Off
that you're
stage,
real.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, you touched on something that I forgot to write down, but I did want to ask you because you're Irish and Italian.
I'm actually Maltese.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
From Malta then? Yeah.
Yes.
Where's that?
Yeah. So Malta is its own country. It's underneath Italy.
So it's close by.
It's close
Okay.
by. It's close by. Very
okay.
culturally.
Well, Maltese then. That still works
That's
for this
the
question.
thing about being Maltese is like I used to have Maltese jokes. I'd be like, I'm Irish and Maltese, and I see some people don't know
Like,
what that
a dog
is.
breed too, right?
Yeah, it is a dog breed.
I can see where that would get confusing.
I'm like, I've tried to write a joke about, yes, it's a dog breed, and what do Maltese dogs and Maltese people have in common? We're both yappy and we urinate outside. And it was like, I have that as a joke, but I've started just going, I'm Irish and Italian.
yeah. It's more succinct.
And then
I
it's
get it.
over.
Yeah.
It's fucking over. Because I just don't want to give people a geography lesson every time I go on stage.
Okay, well, I'll work with that still.
Yeah.
I saw that you were Irish because you're close friends. It seems like with Fiona O'Brien, who's a
Yeah.
friend of the show here, and we really hit it off because I'm Irish. My dad
Yeah,
had my
well, the
citizenship
name
and everything.
like Riley.
Yeah, I've never been there, but it's a dream one day.
Yeah, I have my Irish citizenship as well.
But yeah, it's cool. I've
Yeah.
got to make use of it one day. But so I was just going to ask, from those two ethnicities and your heritage, what are sort of the biggest things that you feel like you have gotten from each? Like, what is the most Irish thing about you, and what is the most, I guess, Maltese thing about you?
Oh my gosh. I feel like the temper is definitely the Maltese thing.
Okay.
Yeah, they're very feisty and argumentative. Needlessly so, actually. I always complain about the Maltese because you know when comedians are like a niche ethnicity and then they really like capitalize on that ethnicity and develop a fan group?
Yeah.
I've tried to do that with Maltese people and they're like, stop talking about us on stage. That's not funny. And it's like, they're so like, I'm just like, fine, I'm not even going to deal with you. They're always mad about something. They're always trying to get a deal. It's like, that's probably the most Maltese thing about me is the confrontational aspect about me, which Cameron's really calmed down. But
yeah, I didn't know they were feisty people necessarily.
Yeah, and Irish, I don't know the jokes that I have about Irish dancing. It was a huge part of my childhood. It was a huge way to connect with my grandparents who moved to take me to Irish dance classes, and we traveled the world together so that I could do that. And I did a ton of competitions, and it really defined my adolescence. And yeah, it was.
I mean, you're wearing green right now.
Yeah, and I love Ireland, and I love Irish people, and I'm just proud to be Irish.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I had another stand-up question that I have asked on the show before, but I think it's a really fun thing to ask, which is if you can remember a gig that you were super stoked about that totally sucked ass, and vice versa, a gig that you thought was going to blow that turned out to be amazing.
Wow, that's it's every day.
It's kind of a flip-flop, yeah.
Oh my gosh, every time I have this is going to be an awesome show, I'm going to kill it. It's the worst bomb of my life.
Wow.
And then anytime I'm like, this is going to be awful, I'm going to suck, I go on, amazing show.
Every single time. I wonder if that's just your mind state going into it then.
It's really weird. I feel like I have to treat every show as though I feel like I'm going to bomb so that I can not. And it's
only uphill from there then.
It's horrible. It's a horrible kind of tizzy to work yourself into. Because I want to get to the point where I'm like, this is going to rock. I'm going to have the best time ever. And then it does.
Yeah.
But it's such a strange thing because it's it doesn't really happen like that. I find after a really bad show, I really tighten up and I recalibrate for that next night, and then it's good. And I'm like, is there a certain thing that I'm lacking in my preparation for these shows that I feel really relaxed in that's not giving me that X factor? I don't know.
Well, sometimes it's just the audience too, right? There's so many variables.
Sometimes people, I just go on stage and they just don't like me right away.
That's kind of
right away. And I hate to say it, but it's usually crowds of mostly women.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You think they're intimidated by your
I don't
stage presence? Or?
Well, yeah. And before I got
it's the hair. It's the luscious, shiny hair. I've seen the comments. It's one of my things here is about the hair, but anyway.
Before I got pregnant, I was very confident and very physical on stage, and people either really latch onto that or they don't like it. It's repelling. And I have to say, one of the side effects of the pregnancy is my voice cuts out randomly.
Oh, weird.
I'll just be talking and it'll go like that. And it started to happen on stage, and I can't ever tell when it's going to happen. It did not happen last night. But I went and saw a vocal coach, and they're like, your hormones are making your they make your vocal cords engorged and less flexible.
I've never heard that.
So your vocal cords are a little tight as a result of the pregnancy and the hormones. So
can you do anything to mitigate that? Or
no? They're you just kind of got to deal with it. They're on the positive side, there's nothing wrong with your vocal cords or you're fine. And I'm just like, well, what am I supposed to do? But as a result, I've had to start doing sets like this where it's very low and slow. And that's how I've been performing, and people like me more.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just a calm.
I think the energy is I'm over it, and it's kind of not attractive. I think before I would be and it's I don't want to listen to you. And it's obviously I'm not as physical. I'm very much stand in one spot type of person.
At least those are things that if you choose to carry on that way after pregnancy, you could still adapt, Well,
that was the one thing where I'm like, what am I going to do? I can't smoke weed, can't drink, can't perform how I normally do. I'm like, this is going to be awful. And it's actually unlocked a new layer to me. That's almost better.
That's so awesome to hear.
So I'm
for
really
someone
happy.
Who's going to try and not drink for a year. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, no, and Cameron's
Promise
like,
around
I
the corner.
really like this new on-stage persona. And I'm like, yeah, I do too. So-
That's what life's all about, like constantly growing and changing and
Yeah.
embracing that, I think.
Yeah,
It's easier said than done, but.
it is. It is.
I also wanted to touch on, because I've heard you first talk on Instagram, but now you reiterated last night on stage about the grueling process of getting a U.S. work visa. Because
Yeah.
I feel like something aspiring comedians who are thinking about making the move might want to hear, you know?
Yes. Yeah. And I'm definitely happy to shed some light on that because I find that the comedians that do get it, they suddenly become the most secretive individuals about the whole thing.
Oh.
And it's like, relax. I'm not coming to audit you. Like, you can share the information. It was a very grueling process. And when I won Boston, it was like, that was it. I did it. It's done. And I didn't need as much evidence as I was going to need. Because it's like I started the process for it at the end of December.
You got it this summer, right?
I just got it July 12th.
Okay.
And so I started it at the end of January. And Boston was in March. So January, she goes, you got to get letters from this person, this person, this person. So you have to write them. You have to ask the person. They have to agree.
To endorse you.
You have to send the letter. They have to go, yeah, this looks cool. And then you got to get their signature. And you would not believe the things, getting signatures from some people. I'm like, it is hard because it's like you got to have a scanner. You got to do something, right? And it's I get that it's not on like number one on everybody's list to get this signature for
Doesn't
my
seem
dreams.
like a big ask, in my opinion, but
It is. Like a lot of people don't have like the technological capabilities to sign something, even though it's like, do an e-signature, print it off, take
Yeah.
a picture,
Yeah.
That was one of the hardest part was like nagging people and going, hey, don't mean to bug you because
Yeah.
you don't want this person to hate you.
you want to be this nuisance,
You want to continue to develop a relationship with them down the road, and if they hate you because you bugged them so much, that's not really going to happen. So that was a tough part, and then it was just very expensive, and I got rejected the first time I did it. So I was down like $4,000.
Shit.
And then my lawyer cut me a deal. She's like, look, I get that, this didn't really go well the first time. She's like, I'll do it premium processing. So you find out in 2 weeks. And then you only have to pay this much instead of this much. And because you got to pay another $3,000 to get it a result in 2 weeks.
Wow.
Whereas if you
pricey.
just do regular submission, it's like 4 to 6 months.
That's a huge difference.
Yeah.
I guess money talks, right?
Yeah, I was like, I will just pay you to make this go away. I'm so sick of it.
So winning the competition, though, that's kind of like,
If you win a major
in the
American
pudding.
competition, you're like, it's done. It's over.
yeah, because it's literally saying I'm better than your own people at this. Like, here's
Yeah.
the proof. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So there's a bit of weird kind of legality issues with performing in the States without the visa. But if you compete, there's like loopholes.
I wonder, is it the same if you get on like a big show or something? Like if you say they let you on Jimmy Fallon or something like that, is that enough of a linchpin to be like,
you
oh,
have
yeah.
to have your visa
Oh,
to
so you
get
can
on
do
that.
Oh, okay, fair.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's been one person in like the history that was able to do it without like the proper visa.
Oh, crazy.
I think it was like John Doerr.
How do you manage that? I wonder. We had him on here in June. I should have asked him. I didn't know that.
Yeah, no. I don't know. I
Weird.
don't know. But it's like there's so many people in America that are like, I'll help you once you get your visa. And I'm like, well, if you help me now, I'll be able to get the visa. But they're like, no, get the visa and then I'll help you. And it was I had all these things kind of on
like
the
a paradox.
hook. Yeah. Like, it used to be easier if you proved that you had 10 booked shows in the States and a manager, you could get a visa. Now it's like the manager has to sponsor you, which a lot of managers don't want to sponsor somebody unless that's asking a lot of a manager to be like, hey, we're not even engaged in business yet, but can you be responsible for bringing me to this country?
Yeah.
And,
Vouch hard for me.
vouch hard for me
Yeah.
and be involved in a lot of extra work before you even get paid to get me a job. So a lot of people are like, no,
Yeah.
right?
It's understandable. Yeah.
It is understandable. But now they also want you to prove that you've got 3 years worth of shows.
Wow.
And
Do you think that's because of like an influx of people trying? to get it?
yeah,
Must be.
they just don't want you to be wandering around the country with nothing going on. That's basically what it is. They don't want you to go, oh, you've got 10 shows in these next 3 years. Well, what else do you have going on? Are you just going to be here leeching off the system? What are
Yeah.
you going to be doing? And it's like comedy is not of that nature where it's like, oh, yeah, here's a show that's happening in 2 years. You're booked.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
So I had to get a lot of clubs and a lot of producers to be like, can you help me with this?
Yeah.
Can you say that you're putting me on this show? And I got a lot of friends from like American festivals who like know me and they helped me out a lot with that.
So is the long-term goal to like move down there or no?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I just assume some people are like, nah, I don't want to leave Canada.
It's very hard to get any progress or traction in New York City unless you're there.
That's where you'd be headed?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I go there like twice a month now.
Yeah, I saw a picture of you in Times Square.
Yeah.
I would love to go. It seems like a super fun place.
It is. It's a little stressful, but it's like any other scene where and it's like the final boss in a video game. It's like, where else is there to go but here? And that's something that I have to keep remembering because there's times where I've been in New York, like my last trip, I had a show get canceled and I'm like, I just want to get on stage. And it's like, take it easy. This is like, you're just kind of getting into the system here. And it's like, I just got my visa in July. I wasted no time. I set up a tour for myself. And I just started going to New York, and my last trip to New York will be at the end of November. So I've got some shows, and every time I go, it gets a little easier because I'm there more often.
People start to recognize you.
But at the same time, like in New York, they don't reward people with spots that are like day trippers. It's like I've had so many comics in Toronto that I want to help because they're like, oh, you're in New York, you've done this show, can you hook me up with the producer? And I'm like, I wish I could. But they are sadly they're barely answering my messages.
Yeah.
Like, it's
You
weird.
just got on their radar. You're not going to start asking for favors.
That's the thing. And then it's like the Toronto comics get kind of like,
She's changed, man.
She's changed. What up, man? But it's like, if the New York producers were giving away spots to out-of-towners, there would be none left for New Yorkers.
True.
So since the pandemic ended, they've really closed up, they've tightened up, and it's like, if you want to get on these shows, you've got to be there.
Well, when we went for our honeymoon to LA about a year ago, I looked around at the scene. Like, it's all like 2-minute spots that you have to wait like 3 hours for. I couldn't be bothered on my
I did
honeymoon.
that. No,
You
that
know,
would that would
I
result
was like,
in a
nah, we're just
divorce.
going to walk around and get drunk and explore like cool sites and go to the bar where Jim Morrison used to drink and stuff like that. We had a great time. We went to the Price is Right. We went to the America's Got Talent finals because Aaron Belial was on and he gave us tickets. Cause, we actually interviewed Aaron Belial. Every time he comes up, I always just gotta give him a shout out because the guy is destroying and rightfully so. But yeah, we were the first podcast he ever did, and a week afterwards, he did his first Kill Tony, and the rest is history.
Oh,
So-
that's so nice.
And now he's on all these podcasts I love. He was just on Whiskey Ginger and a bunch of other ones. So
Yeah. It's LA is I've been there quite a few times, and every time I go, I do the Laugh Factory open mic, but it's 2 minutes.
yikes.
And you gotta it starts at 6 and I line up at 12.
Jesus.
So
2 minutes? Oh my God.
because it's the first 10 are guaranteed, and then after that it's a raffle. And I'm like, well, I'm not gonna show up a half an hour later just to be number 11 and then maybe not even get on.
Well, and what is like you're hoping the right person sees you, I guess, because I have a friend.
Yeah, you can get like a spot on a show. The
Okay.
third time I did it, they offered me a spot, and I'm like, I'm actually leaving.
Shit.
And they're like, why'd you do this?
I have a friend, Jackie, who's a comedian, and she went down. I think it was the Laugh Factory, but she told me she ended up performing for just like a bunch of the other comics, basically.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Like, because like at the Improv, I think it was 3 minutes, and it was the same thing. You got to line up at a certain time, and then everybody's hoping to get on at that mic, and then you might get drawn, you might not, and Yeah. When I did the improv mic, it took me 2 times before I got on. And then I did my 3 minutes, and it was like all my A material kind of condensed and bombed because nobody knew me. And people laugh for who they know. And it was like, you need support of your community too. So it's like they're not just willing to like let you in. And honestly, though, I got to LA doing what I thought what was my 5-minute set. I'm like, wow, this is actually 3 minutes. And that doing mics in LA taught me that.
Did you have to condense everything and tighten up
Yeah,
so much?
and it was like I was like 2 years into comedy, and I was like, wow, I really got to cut the fat on a lot of stuff because like, you know, you have this 5-minute set, and then you're going and doing all these 2 or 3 minute showcases, and you're like, well, I want to do all my jokes, and then you're like, wait a second, all my jokes are like 3 minutes.
Yeah, there's so much like extra fluff kind of added on.
Yeah. So that was a huge lesson for me. But the first time I did comedy in LA was the Burbank Comedy Festival. And that was a great way to get into Flappers, which is the comedy club in Burbank.
I've heard of it. I've never been there.
Yeah, they're really good for like accommodating, you know, out of towners as well. And it's a great kind of like entry level way into LA. It's weird though, because we were on the fence about where to go for a few years. And then like over these last few years, I'm like, oh, obviously New York, because, you know, you can't really grind in LA.
The weather's so much better.
I don't like it.
Oh, no? I just thought as a Canadian, you must also get pretty sick.
I like
winters.
seasons.
Okay.
Yeah. It's weird.
There's that. You just made me think of that Daniel Tosh joke. He had a joke that was like, he's making fun of people who say, oh, I like seasons. He said, so do I. That's why I I live in a place that skips the shitty ones.
I love winter. I find winter very introspective and reflective, and there's
It's a cool time to hole away and work on like something and then emerge in the spring with your.
Yes.
Yeah, I get that.
I like cocooning and hibernating, and so does Cameron. And it's nice to not feel guilt for not going out and seizing the day.
Yeah.
Whereas in LA, you're inside, you're like, I need to get out there. There's palm trees. I need to be out in the sunshine. And then you like your energy depletes and you're like, oh, you know?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's like a rejuvenation period sort of to just chill out in the winter.
No, and I love New York at Christmas.
Yeah, that'd be a good time to go. Actually, for my 40th, a year and a bit from now, that's Kelly wants to take me to New York in the Christmas time. And part of me is like, yeah, that is a good time, but I'd also love to go to Central Park in the summer and like, so I don't know.
That's where I shot my video complaining about getting the visa.
I figured it might be, it seemed like that area. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Only because time, I don't want to keep you here too long. I did want to talk about your YouTube show because as soon as I was going through it, I started feeling like we were kindred spirits because, I mean, we do everything pretty much in the studio. We don't have a lot of like man on the street or anything. But I think what's often held us back is that we don't have like a focused niche. It's kind of like all over the place, which I noticed with your channel as well. It's like, I wrote some of it down just so people get, there's so much variety. Like you're doing VR gaming in some, you're doing cooking, pizzas and baking, you're doing self-defense classes, you're doing meditation, yoga, an Elvis impersonator, which you were interviewing. You interviewed Ron James, who we barring anything else, we just secured him as the season finale guest in a few weeks. So yeah, he seems like a cool cat. Tons of workouts, including working out with my hoe, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah, it's a garden hoe.
But I wanted to know, well, first of all, it also made me think, and I don't know if you can say if this is accurate or not, but it totally made me feel like Pee Wee Herman vibes. Because he would have people stop by his house, you know, like, oh, who's here today teaching me this?
I used to love Pee Wee's Playhouse.
Okay, so maybe it's in there a little bit.
I feel bad for Paul Rubens.
What?
Rubens.
That he got busted jerking off in the theater?
Yeah, and it's like, God, compared to what everybody else is doing these days, the poor guy,
Seems
now
pretty
he's
tame.
dead.
Well, and the weirdest thing too is that it was like a porno theater.
Yeah.
If he had been like jerking off at the Lion King or something, like fair enough, you know. But,
no, it's like it would be weird if you weren't jerking off at the porn theater.
To be fair, I think a porn theater is just a strange concept. But
yeah,
what is it? You're just supposed to like sit there for 2 hours watching a full porno movie and following all the beats of the story, and then you just wait till you get home. I don't know. It's bizarre.
I love Pee Wee's Playhouse, and it's like, I love it is a variety show, just because it was like we were having a hard time picking a focus. We're like, do we just want to do workouts? And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. And it's like every day it's a different thing and it's a surprise. And it's
I love it, for the record.
Oh,
Like, it was
thank
meant
you.
to be a compliment because I feel like that's what we do. We have definitely a focus on chatting with comedians a lot, but this year we had like a paleontologist from the Nature Museum and a whale expert, and like I really just think it's such an enriching thing to immerse yourself with all these things of which you know barely anything. And really have an expert just kind of show you the ropes. Or
my favorite one that we've done recently was freestyle rapping. Because it's like, it's kind of comedy adjacent, but it's like a skill where I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. We've got...
Yeah, you're no Harry Mack yet. From the video I saw. You got a long way to go, but I commend you for trying.
It was so weird because I was like prepping myself with rhymes and stuff, and then it just kind of all went out the window. And I'm like, oh my God.
I think the real freestylers, they know how to get in that flow state where it's
the
just like,
flow state. That was lesson number one. You got to find your flow state. But I get to book all the guests, and we've got some like really exciting ones coming up. Obviously, because I'm pregnant, I can't do anything too crazy anymore. So I'm doing a lot of like food.
That's okay.
Yeah, we've got this chef. Her name's Enid Grace. She's in Prince Edward County, and she's like a world-renowned chef. And her boyfriend, I think, like writes speeches for Kamala. It's crazy. Like, yeah. Like they're such a power couple, and she's really like the Nigella Lawson of Canada, basically. And like she agreed to do 2 segments, and we did like a dessert and then a pasta. And I'm like, I can't wait for that to come out. I worked with this MMA chick. Her video did really well. The first one we did, her name's she does comedy, and we learned how to do another choke. And so that was
several martial arts videos.
Yeah, we did
Krav Maga.
Yeah, because we're currently like they're producing like a formal self-defense series. So it was like a test. It was like we used it as an audition for people.
That's super cool.
So we release all those videos as they come out. We're doing face yoga, which is like supposed to be like a holistic facelift.
Okay. Never even heard of that.
Yeah, we're gonna learn how to make bath bombs. And I'm doing a whole prenatal fitness series. I'm gonna do like 10 episodes for the Daily Surprise. So and we're gonna be shooting those in December when I'm like really out. Just so that it can like connect with those viewers that are also going through that as well. Because if you go on YouTube and you look up prenatal workouts, there's not a lot of them. And there's one woman who has like 1 million views, and she's like, I'm not pregnant right now, but I'm wearing a fake belly and I'm going to work out. And I'm like, that's weird to me. And it's like cool that you've had 3 kids and you're doing this and you know what it's like, but it's just weird to not see that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I feel like it would be good for me to release it and, you know, do 10 eps in my style. And that'll be kind of like one of the last things I do before I go on mat leave.
And well, I guess if people are used to like a daily surprise, your subscribers might be a little bit lonely for a while.
Yeah. Well,
so is it actually every day?
It is every day.
Okay.
We've taken a break because so it's produced by Zoomer Media, and they produce a lot of stuff. So they've got like a current event show. They've got a self-defense series that we're producing. So I was the host of it, and then I shot 3 episodes and found out I was pregnant.
Oh no.
3 episodes. And I was like doing like punching and kicking and getting attacked and things like that.
Yikes.
And then I found out I was pregnant, and I told them right away, and they were like, oh, we've got like 5 more episodes to shoot. And I'm like, ooh.
Well, it's like a liability at that point probably for them if they accidentally kill your baby.
Yeah, that's not a good look.
No.
So, but they really wanted to get it done, and I'm still the host of the show, but we got 2 other women to kind of take my spot, but I'm still kind of like guiding it.
Okay.
So they're busy with that. I also have 60 episodes of a Pilates series called The Pilates Pupil, which airs on One TV.
Yeah, I kept seeing this One TV because it seems like your YouTube channel is only a couple years old, but you have been creating content in different capacities for a while.
One TV is a specialty cable channel, and so the people that see it all the time. And the people that don't have no idea it exists.
I've never heard of it, yeah.
And it's kind of a shame because I have like a spin-off of 20-minute workout from the 80s, and I really wish that...
22-minute workout.
Yeah, 22-minute workout. And I have a kettlebell series. I have a dance workout series.
There's one where you were like dressed like a barbarian or something.
Yeah, that's the kettlebell series.
Okay, yeah,
we
that
shot
looks
that
rad.
during the pandemic because it was socially distant. So they put me on a pile of rocks.
You look like an American gladiator or something.
I trained so hard for that.
I can tell, yeah. Holy
yeah,
shit.
because it was during lockdowns. So I spent all of 2020 training. And
That's what those winners are for, right?
Yeah. And it's funny because, I was doing Zoom comedy, but I wasn't drinking. And I was just like, I was very much in control of what I was eating and nothing to do but train. And it was like I was in prison. And then as soon as we kind of started coming out of lockdown, we shot that series. So I was like ready to go.
I really hope people go check out your channel. It just dawned on me too why the PB Herman connection was partially because you have this like faux apartment,
Yes.
So that's an angle, but I really hope people check it out because one thing that struck me, and again, this is not disparaging at all, more because I can relate that some of these videos, you can tell you put so much work into them, and the views, I'm like, where are the views? Like, this should have so many more views, and we feel that way with this show a lot of the time. We have some big star come on, and we're like, 100 views. Fucking
I know. I'm like, what the hell's going on? You know what it is?
Very discouraging,
It's we've had the YouTube account since for 3 years, right? But we started it as an app. So it was Anjelica.tv, and it was an app you had to download on your phone. And we did it for like a year and a half. And then the conclusion was, this isn't working. It's very hard to get people to subscribe to this app. So we would post the teasers for episodes on the YouTube, and one of them has like 1.2 million views.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, okay, we're using the YouTube for teasers, and then that's getting more views than subscriptions to the app itself. So they're like, let's get rid of this app. We're just going to start posting these videos on YouTube. So the posting to YouTube is a relatively new thing.
Oh, okay.
That's why it's like, 1.2 subscribers and not a lot of views on a lot of things. And it's like, some of the stuff is not like safe for work or children. I think that affects things too.
It's a very like eclectic mix of stuff on the channel. And I think that's what is probably maybe hurting it as well. Or at least that's how I feel with this show. It's like, the algorithm likes consistency.
That's been my biggest problem
I
through my whole life. If like you could create that as an analogy for my life, is the fact that I've been interested in too many things, and I've
I totally relate.
And it's like, the people that are super successful are purists, and
Yeah.
they choose one thing and they stick with it. Meanwhile, when I was growing up, I thought if I'm good at a bunch of different things, I'll be like a Swiss Army knife of a person, and that'll make me more valuable. But it confuses people.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I know. I still think it's
Take it.
It's valuable in your life to have that adaptability. But yeah, I totally get that. I feel the same way. Even as soon as I get sort of into something, I'm ready to pivot to something else. And I kind of, I get disappointed in myself for not having that stick-to-itiveness that I see so many other people that just are diehard into one thing. But I don't know that I can live that way.
No.
It goes against who I am, I feel like, almost.
It's boring.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like Angelica's Daily Surprise is a reflection of like, you can be interested in a lot of things.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's like, it's led me to so many interesting people.
That's why I knew we were on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
Okay, well, the only other question I had about your show was I just wanted to know if there were any activities or disciplines that you're really eger to pursue. Other than all the food stuff coming up. And
I ask myself that every day because it's getting to the point.
I don't know.
What did I want to do I know what I wanted to do that I never got a chance to do. I wanted to go to a batting cage and I wanted to hit a baseball. And I booked the guy who like has a batting cage, who like trains like kids, because I've never hit a baseball before in my life.
Even though you love baseball.
And I love baseball. And every time I watch baseball, I'm like, I could do that. And Cameron's like, okay. And I really wanted to do that. And then the guy got sick. And then one of my crew got sick. So we rescheduled twice. And then I got pregnant, and I'm like, probably shouldn't go to a batting cage. So that's like the one thing that was like left on the table that I really, really, really wanted to do was hit a freaking baseball.
I don't think you've passed the point in your life where you can do that still.
Yeah.
I feel like you can revisit that one.
Yeah, no, I guess I'm just going to have to live with the mystery of that in the meantime. But I've also got another exciting episode too coming out, and it's, the Keg, the restaurant.
Yeah.
You know the Billy Miner pie?
No.
Do you ever go to the Keg?
Not really. It's like a
Okay.
steakhouse, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love the Keg. It's one of my favorite places to go. And their cornerstone dessert is the Billy Miner pie. And it's like an ice cream cake with like this cookie base. And it's like drizzled with caramel and almonds. It's incredible.
Wow.
So every time I go there, I'm like, who makes this dessert? And it turns out it's a guy that my dad was friends with.
What?
Back in the day. So my dad used to be the art director at Roots. My dad designed the beaver, the iconic Roots
that's
beaver.
insane.
So it's funny because my dad's an artist and he immigrated from Malta and he had a cresting company. And then Roots bought out his cresting company and hired him as the artistic director in the 80s and the 90s.
Wow.
So but the Roots, like the company, I'm not even sure if I think it might still be on the same street in Toronto, is across the street from a place called Gelato Fresco. And this guy makes gelato. And he got the contract for the Billy Miner pie. So my dad one day was like, oh, you'll never guess who I ran into on the street. I ran into Hart. He'd love to shoot a Daily Surprise with you. And he's like, I think he's like doing something for the Keg now. And I'm like, okay. And then I
Keep
found he's
talking.
the Billy Miner pie guy. And it was like all these like things that just kind of happened. So he walked me through the factory and the process of making the Billy Miner pie. And that episode is coming out soon. So I'm so excited about that.
What a small world.
It is.
That's insane. And what is the Billy Miner? Where's that come from?
I don't know who
You
was
would
Billy
name it the
Miner.
Heart whatever pie.
Or like the Keg Classic or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't remember. I looked it up once. Something to do with the Keg, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that
But
should be a fun one
Those
to
are the
watch.
excitement. The MMA, the Keg, and face yoga, and
Batting cage one day.
yeah.
You know, it's funny because I'm not a big sports person, mainly because I suck at them for the most part. But as a kid, I always thought baseball was so boring to watch, but like super fun to play.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I always, out of every sport, I always thought it was the one like I've had the most decent chance at not sucking completely.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why. And dodgeball.
I think it requires the most amount of athletic dynamics within a person.
Interesting.
Because you have to be emotionally stable because there's so much tension and suspense. And focus, and like everybody's watching you. You have to like be able to hit a ball, catch, do outfielding, run fast, pitch. It's like you have to be really good at a lot of different things.
That's true.
Whereas like hockey, yeah, that's hard. It's really hard, but it's a lot of go, 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 go. It's
You have
not,
to not be that attached to your teeth.
yeah,
It's a big one.
or your head.
Yeah, I guess. Oh, jeez.
Which that's the thing is I like baseball because very rarely do you see serious injuries occur.
Unless you're that girl in the stands at the Jays
So-
game. Did you see that girl?
Liz McGuire.
Is that her name?
Liz McGuire. I have a picture with her.
Wasn't that the name of?
Yes.
Okay.
A Hillary Duff show.
yeah.
Yes. So, okay, there's a baseball show that happens in Toronto. It's a monthly. I don't know if it's still going on now that baseball season's winding down. But it's Scott Belford's show. And I know
A comedy show, you mean?
it's a comedy show.
Okay,
and
but
it's all
baseball
about
themed.
baseball. It's called Baseball Town. So Cameron and I, we do roasts of teams like every month. So we've roasted the Jays, the Yankees, the
Astros,
Astros, Tampa Bay Rays, Boston Red Sox. We've kind of done it all, and it's like the audience that comes, it's the same audience every time. So they're like super into it, and they know every little crazy detail about baseball and these players. Like sometimes they know more than we do, and we think we're nerds, but
They've all got fantasy teams, I'm sure.
oh yeah, for sure. If I was into that, I would do that too. But Liz McGuire came on and was a guest on this show once, and she was talking about the whole experience, and she killed. She's so funny. She's the funniest person, and you should see how she walks. She kind of like lumbers around. She's hilarious.
I just remember seeing the welt from that
I
ball.
know,
was massive.
I know. And she comes to every Baseball Town show now.
That's super
And
cool.
she's like just there as like an audience member. And yeah, I had a joke. Oh man. What was the joke about her head? I was like, maybe she'll forget this entire season as a result of her head injury. That was one of them. But yeah, it's I love the culture of it. And I hope if we have a boy that it likes baseball.
I don't think that's a hard sell for a young boy.
No?
No, I mean, like, I didn't even like sports, and I still kind of thought baseball was fun. So
Yeah,
I think
that's
it'd be
good.
all right.
A lot of people think it's really boring.
Maybe you guys go to the batting cage together one day, right?
Yeah, maybe that's what's meant
And
to
no
be.
reason a little girl can't get into baseball.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
The world is your oyster.
people are always like, what if you have a boy that wants to dance? And I'm like, listen, we'll come to this when we get to it. I'll show it a bunch of different things and whatever it gravitates
I don't know how many
towards.
male belly dancers there are, but is
Yeah.
that a thing? Are there male belly dancers?
Yeah, they're weird. They're all weird dudes.
Like hairy bellies? That doesn't sound great. I assume they would wax or something, but... All right, well, I don't want to keep you too long. Like I said, I always give my dad a chance if he has a question. I don't know if you do today.
Dad.
No, he says no. We talked about
No
a lot
questions?
of stuff.
Wow.
Okay, well, I have a few random ones. These are some deep dives. First of all, this one is for the ladies out there, or men with long hair.
ladies.
I've seen a lot of comments, as I mentioned, about your lustrous hair, and I wanted to know what is the secret if you're willing to divulge to your. Every comment on YouTube is her hair's so shiny. How does she get it that way?
I drink a lot of collagen.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
that's a tip. Okay.
Yeah, marine collagen, and it tastes awful.
Ugh. Marine collagen. I don't even think that's where they got it from.
It's fish scales.
Okay. That
Yeah.
sounds like it would taste awful.
Yeah, it's so weird because I started drinking it a long time ago and it made a huge difference because I drank it and then I took myself off to see what would happen. And I'm like, nah, this is good. It actually makes me feel really good. It's good for the skin.
I was going to say, yeah, I take some sort of collagen, but...
Yeah, your skin's great.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm getting close to 40, so it's nice to hear.
Wow. But it's I looked on the ingredients list. I'm like, what am I drinking? And it's basically like fish scales, eggshells.
Ugh.
Ugh.
You gotta
And
do
I'm
what- gotta
like,
do what you
that's
gotta
the
do.
worst part of the fish.
Yeah.
That's what they get rid of.
But it's got the nutrients you need.
Yeah, it's like, okay, they must be like, this idiot takes the worst part of the fish, we dehydrate it, sell it back to her for $60. But yeah, also, I'm like a very greasy person, and there's like a fine balance to the grease. So I've got it timed so that it looks really good. And then as soon as I get home, I'm like a swamp creature. Like there's a time limit on it.
You know the shine period.
I know the shine period.
Okay. Well, yeah, I've got a couple random ones. You tell me if you want to get into these or not. You found your mole twin in Ibiza. I thought that was pretty fun. I guess that's not much of a story potentially, but maybe it is.
Yeah, I've got a birthmark on my back, and it's like this. It looks like an eye.
It's just a fun photo.
One time I got drunk and passed out, and somebody glued a fake eyelash on it and a pupil. It's like an eye shape. And I went to Ibiza like when I was 21, as you do. And I found a girl on the beach with the exact same mole in the exact same
It really
spot.
was uncanny. Like the photo is pretty awesome.
Yeah. That was a great trip. Ugh.
Where is Ibiza? Excuse my ignorance.
It's in Spain. It's in the Balearic Island. So I lived in Spain for 2 years, and I was doing flamenco. I got a scholarship to do flamenco, and I danced at a few tablaos, which are like the comedy clubs of flamenco. They're very intimate little shows that happen, and so I was there, and my reward for the end of my 2 years there was I would go to Ibiza for 4 days. And 4 days is too long. You should go for a weekend because it's like a club.
Oh, it's just exhausting.
It's like clubbing. There's like nothing else but clubs there. So every kind of EDM DJ was there. And this was like 2011 when it was like at the height. You know, you had your Armin van Buuren, your Tiesto, Dead Mouse.
What was the big musical thing that came in? It was like, you know, that.
Dubstep.
Dubstep. Thank
Yes.
you. That
So
was terrible. That sounded like Donald Duck. more
Hey,
than-
no, I understood
Yeah,
what
you
you
knew what it was, okay.
yeah, I got that.
Charades, here I come.
Yeah.
All right, and you can't make noise. Shit.
I went to a club and it was like half dubstep, half drum and bass, and I hate drum and bass, but I love dubstep.
Take the good with the bad.
So I was like, I'm just gonna stay on the dubstep side. But
That sounds like it would get old after a weekend, though. I get it.
yeah, it was 4 days. It was exhausting. Plus, I ran out of money when I was in Spain, and I overestimated my budget, and so I had no money in Ibiza, and I went. I'm like, well, I'm not going. So I found these two guys, and I just lied about everything for the entire time. I lied about my name, everything.
What, just to
And-
generate a couple sugar daddy kind of thing? Or-
Yeah. And it's like bless them, they were idiots. And one of them was like, I want to take you back to Napoli to meet my mother. And I'm like, it's not like that, sweetheart.
Oh.
Yeah, like they didn't speak a word of English either. And so I was there kind of just as like an ornament, and they were taking me to like some beautiful restaurants. I ate so well. We went to some amazing clubs. I'm like, I'm glad I didn't get murdered, honestly.
Well, I was going to say, they never got like handsy or like, a little bit expectant for anything. We can
What are
move
you
on.
gonna do?
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? But it was like the last night, one of them was like criticizing my outfit. And he was like, why did you wear that? And he was like being mean to me. And then I was like, oh, you know what? I have another like top in my bag. I'm gonna go change real quick. And then I just like left the club.
That's hilarious. He's like, I can't wait to see this new outfit.
I left the club. Literally, that was my last night. It was like 3 a.m. My flight was leaving at 9.
Oh, jeez.
I went back to my hotel, got dressed, went to the airport.
It's pretty last minute.
Yeah.
Flying
Yeah.
by the seat of your pants. Okay.
I remember falling asleep on the conveyor belt, like at the airport, where you check in and then you put your bag on the thing. And I kept getting woken up, and they're like, we're opening this stand now. Could you please fall asleep somewhere else?
We're
And
not
I'd be
looking
like,
to x-ray you.
yeah. Yeah.
I only had a couple other things from your Instagram, which was very interesting. I saw that you were cast in something as Red Herring, and I was very curious, like, what was
Red
that?
herring.
Yeah, there's something, it was like the credits for some sort of production, and it said Anjelica Scannura, Red Herring.
Huh.
She doesn't even know. That's not
No.
even funnier to me. Okay, there was also a really gnarly picture of your fucked up toe, and you put it in like black and white. It literally looked like a corpse, and I was just wondering if that was like maybe an interesting story behind that injury. 'cause
My
it was-
feet are the most disgusting part of my body.
Okay.
Yeah. I had a wart for like 4 years on my foot
I could
that I
relate.
got from the kettlebell workout shoot
Oh.
because I was pivoting a lot, and then like glass and dirt got in. That was a struggle. But here's the interesting part. I treated it with beetle venom.
What?
Yeah,
Is that a thing?
that's a thing.
Where do you get beetle venom? Where do you even acquire that?
My is it chiropodist or chiropodist? Because people have said it's
I've
one or
never
the
heard
other.
that word either way.
So it's like a foot doctor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a foot doctor that gets like rid of
I thought
nasty.
that had like a P word. no?
Podiatrist, I think it's
Oh,
for like
okay.
structural, for like orthotics and things,
Oh.
structural
It's
issues.
like the surface of the foot. More.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, but it's like if you've got a bunion or a corn or something you need taken out of your foot or a wart, you go see a chiropodist. Yeah, and I like that. I want to be a chiropodist. I want to be that's my side hustle. I wish I could do that, but it was bad because it was not going away, and it was affecting how I walked. And the place that I was going to was closed on Mondays, and that was my only free day. And then they'd be like, come in on a Friday. And I'm like, and then hobble to my show? Like,
Yeah,
because
that's
you
not
get the
ideal.
beetle venom, then you can't stand for like 2 days.
How did they figure out that was a cure? Someone stepped on a beetle, I guess, by accident.
Yeah, I feel bad for whoever had to discover that. But it causes blistering. It causes deep blistering. So you get a dab of this venom, and the skin and the surrounding area, so you have to be very careful not to get it anywhere else except for the area you want to treat. It blisters. So it lifts the wart and then peels off.
You know what kind of beetle or no?
No.
There's a family of beetles called.
My dad
they're-
studied insects. in
Now he's
university.
chatty.
Yeah. They're called blister beetles. There's a whole,
really?
yeah, there's a whole family
Oh.
of them. Yeah.
Aptly named.
And what you should watch, Angelica, out of Mississauga, is this guy called the Toe Bro. So he's he's a chiropodist, and you want to see some of the stuff he does, and you want to see some of the feet that come in.
She's gonna Google this when she
I'm
gets back
gonna
to the
love
hotel.
that.
So
it's
he-
like Dr. Pimple Popper.
Exactly.
He's
And
into that
it's-
too,
and-
yeah.
But he's a super nice guy, and he really helps out.
bro.
But some of the stuff he does to their toes, I go, oh my god, how's he keeping his lunch down? I mean,
Oh, I know. That sounds really gross. I don't know. I think I could treat warts. I think I could get rid of splinters and do basic stuff. That's about it, though. I'm not good with blood.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it got to the point where I was like, I'm going to the Boston Comedy Festival. I can't. I like couldn't stand.
So
And
this is recent.
this is it took 4 years. This was 4 years. I go, can I have the beetle venom? They're like, no, you can't. We can't give you beetle venom. And I'm like, I am not here enough to like make any kind of meaningful progress. It was like $80 every time I went.
Yeah.
I'd always get a different doctor. They'd always be like, it's going away. You're getting better. And then the next time they'd be like, I had one doctor at this place. She was like, this is really bad. You need surgery. And then I never saw that doctor again. I was like, what happened to that lady? The whistleblower.
Weird.
The rest of them were like, yeah, it's not looking so bad. I'm like, no.
But they're not going to want to let you self-administer because then you don't have to come to them.
I like made a case and I got access to the Venom. They finally gave it to me and I got rid of it in a month because I was able to treat it like daily and I just had like one of the worst months of my life and I got rid of it and it's gone.
Yeah, never in a million years would I have guessed that beetle venom was the cure for Plantar's warts.
Yep.
Crazy. Yeah.
Still trying to write a joke for that.
Oh, there's got to be one in there for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, the picture that I saw was more just like your toenail was fucking destroyed and
Oh,
it
yeah.
looked like your toe was mashed hard.
When I was belly dancing, it's a lot of dragging the toes and I would like regularly lose toenails.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound great at all.
No, it wasn't.
Okay, well, that's pretty much it. We asked you the season 5 question to wrap things up, which this season is if you could go back in time, you can't change history, but you get to relive a memory. Oh. What would it be and why?
Oh my gosh.
And you haven't given birth yet, so you can't pull from that. And,
yeah. Relive a memory.
I mean, the last guy, Jeff, he said very heartfelt, like spending the holidays with my deceased relatives, and which is fine, but sometimes we get a little more,
Yeah. I don't
memory
know.
or something.
Winning Boston was pretty cool. Performing at Massey Hall last New Year's Eve.
Oh, wow.
That was
That's
great.
a milestone, yeah.
Yeah. That's a moment I think I would want to relive for sure.
Well, let's finish on that then.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming.
Thank
We
you
high five
so
at the
much.
end, which I forgot to high five Jeff. Damn it. And yeah, you're remembering that now too, eh? Well, I'll give him a retroactive one next time I see him. Okay, well, thanks everybody for watching.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Dad. Catch you next time.
Thanks, Dad.